Listen to me. Take this girl and leave her in the forest. She is a curse for our family.
She is my sister. I will never leave her in the forest. I will not abandon her.
Long ago, in a prosperous and bustling city, lived a wealthy and influential merchant named Tajer. He was well known in society, and his household was touched with happiness. But the human mind is strange. Even amidst joy, it remains restless with worries about the unmanifested future. One day, while traveling for business to a distant land, he met a famous and elderly astrologer. It was rumored among the people that this astrologer's calculations were as certain as the North Star and never failed. Unable to suppress his curiosity, Tajer asked to know the future of himself and his family. The dark prophecy. The astrologer spent a long time studying Tajer's palm lines and birth chart. Suddenly, he stopped. His bright face turned dark in an instant. Deep wrinkles of worry appeared on his forehead. Friends, our videos are watched by people of all religions, including Muslims, Hindus, and Christians. So if you are a Muslim, please give this video a like. And if you belong to another religion, let us know in the comments which faith you follow. When Tajer fearfully asked for the reason, the astrologer made a terrifying prophecy in a grave and chilling voice. He said, "Listen, Tajer, a daughter is soon to be born in your house. In ordinary eyes, a child is a blessing from God, but this daughter is a curse for you. The position of the stars clearly says that in the future, this daughter will be the cause of the death of your beloved only son, the light of your lineage. Your son will lose his life at her hands." On hearing these unimaginable words, the ground beneath Tajer's feet seemed to slip away. He could not believe how the bond of the same blood could be the cause of each other's destruction. But thinking of the astrologer's confidence, the language of his eyes, and his fame for accurate past calculations, the poisonous teeth of doubt sank deep into Tajer's mind. Blind superstition and worry for his son's well-being began to cloud his judgment. A father's cruel resolve. On the long journey home, that ominous message rang constantly in his ears. The daughter will be the son's end. A strange mental depression and fear gripped him, preparing to shatter his beautiful, organized household. When Tajer returned home after his long journey, his mind was as heavy as the stillness before a storm. He looked at his dear little son, who was playing happily in the courtyard. Friends, if you want to see such Islamic stories and educational videos, subscribe to our Islamic Galpo YouTube channel right now. Seeing his son's innocent face and vitality, his heart wrenched with an unknown fear. The terrifying warning that the son would die at the daughter's hands began to bite his brain like a venomous snake. He fell into a strange and painful dilemma. It was one side the natural affection for an unborn child, on the other, blind love for his current only heir and his safety. Day after day and night after night, he could not close his eyes. A horrific scene repeatedly flashed before him, his beloved son losing his life at the hands of his own sister. This imaginary scene and baseless fear began to eat him from the inside, slowly driving him almost insane. Finally, human conscience lost miserably to intense fear. The black shadow of superstition and blind faith completely consumed the fatherhood of the man.
He decided that he must save his son at any cost. And in his distorted thinking, the only way to save him was to remove that unborn enemy as soon as she saw the light of the world. He felt that if the lamp of the lineage could be protected at the cost of one life, then so be it. He took a hard and cruel decision. If a daughter was born from his wife's womb, she would not be allowed to live. She would have to be ruthlessly killed right at birth. His hand did not shake even a little while making this inhuman resolution because his eyes only saw the imaginary death of his son. Abandoning all mercy, he became a stone-hearted father ready to kill his own child based solely on a false prophecy. The poisonous command. Tajar's mind was constantly spinning with the astrologer's ominous prophecy and the fear for his son's life. For business needs, he had to travel to a foreign land again for a long time. But before leaving, his mind could not find peace. The thought that an invisible enemy was growing inside the house was eating him up. On the morning of his departure, he called his little son aside. The boy was still very innocent, with no idea about the cruelty or cunning of the world. Seeing his father's grave and somber face, he was a bit startled. He understood that his father wanted to say something urgent. Tajar placed his hand on his son's shoulder and said in a low but iron-hard voice, "Son, I am going far away for business. I don't know when I will return, but before leaving, I want to give you a great responsibility which you must follow to the letter." The boy stared blankly at his father's face. Tajar then began to instill his hidden fear and cruel plan into the boy's ears like a mantra. He said, "Listen, if the child coming into your mother's womb is a girl, remember, she is not your sister. She is your literal death. The astrologer has said this girl will be the cause of your death in the future, so if you want to stay alive, you must remove her. If a daughter is born in my absence, do not delay for a moment. Show her no mercy. Take her straight to the deep forest, kill her with your own hands, and bury her under the earth." Hearing his father's terrifying command, the little boy's hands and feet went cold. He couldn't understand why his own unborn sister would be his enemy, but he had neither the courage nor the age to disobey his father's order. Carrying a huge mental burden and unknown terror in his heart, he was forced to agree to his father's words. Taking his son's silence as consent, Tajar left the house with a sense of relief, leaving behind the seed of a poisonous command. The mother's faith. While Tajar was drawing a blueprint for the murder of his unborn child out of superstition and fear, a different picture prevailed inside the house. Tajar's wife, a pious and affectionate woman, hated and rejected her husband's baseless fear and the astrologer's false calculations. To her, a child, whether a boy or a girl, was a sacred trust and a supreme gift from the Creator. She believed that human destiny does not depend on stars or the words of men. It is solely subject to the will of Allah. Her heart trembled upon learning of her husband's cruel order, but the strength of motherhood did not let her give up. She would shed tears in every prayer, pleading to Allah that her unborn child would come into the world healthy and the darkness in her husband's mind would be removed. She firmly believed that one whom Allah sends to the world can never bring misfortune. Rather, this daughter might come as a blessing in their lives. Neither the crooked talk of society nor her husband's angry eyes could suppress her motherhood. She vowed to herself that she would protect her unborn child even with her last breath. She would talk to the unborn child in her mind. Finally, the long-awaited yet dreaded moment arrived. The night was a new moon, Amavasya, and a heavy storm was pouring from the sky. The thunderclaps shook the air as if nature itself was signaling a major event. Amidst this disastrous weather, a beautiful baby girl was born in Tajar's house. But immediately after birth, instead of joy, a strange shadow of terror fell over the room. The midwife and the elderly women noticed that the infant had a distinct black birthmark on her palm. Superstitious people took it as an ill omen. This black mark seemed to match perfectly with the astrologer's prophecy. Fear was written on everyone's faces, as if this innocent child was not a human, but a literal danger. As the lightning flashed, the mark on her hand became even clearer. The servants began to whisper, "This is no ordinary girl. She is surely a bringer of ruin." Even in her first cry, they found a tune of misfortune. Yet the infant did not know how much her birthmark or her very existence was hated by her own father. A terrifying silence surrounded this girl born on a stormy night, where the poison of suspicion spread more than love. Following his father's order, the older brother tiptoed into the room. His mind was still filled with the poisonous mantra his father had taught him. He must kill the sister, or his own life would be lost. In his hand was the tool of cruelty, and in his eyes was the shadow of fear. He slowly approached the cradle where his newborn sister lay. His hands were shaking, but he tried to steady himself. But as he leaned over the cradle, everything changed. The infant was awake. Seeing her big brother, she gave a heavenly, toothless smile. There was no deception in that smile, no threat of death. Looking at her sister's magical eyes and innocent face, the brother's fear melted like wax. He thought in wonder, how can such a tiny baby be my killer? She is holier than a flower. The baby reached out her tiny hand toward her brother, as if seeking his protection. Unconsciously, the brother took his small fingers in his palm. In an instant, a deep bond of affection was created between them. He realized the astrologer had lied and his father was wrong. This sister was not his enemy, but a piece of his own heart. The hand that came to kill now yearned to embrace the sister with supreme affection. The older brother fell into a difficult conflict, his father's strict command versus the newly awakened love for his sister. But in the end, the pull of blood and conscience won. He decided to lie to his father, but not let his sister die. With the help of his mother and a trusted old nursemaid, he arranged to hide his sister in a secret chamber within the house, where light did not reach during the day and no one peeked at night. The girl began to grow up in that secret place. The brother would hide his own portion of food to bring to her. Since the father was away for business, this game of hide and seek was somewhat easy. He would discipline his little sister like a father and protect her with a mother's love. The sister knew nothing of the world except her brother. The brother gave her a name in secret and taught her how to speak. While the outside world believed Tajar's daughter was dead, deep within the house, a brother was raising his sister bit by bit. Thus, in the kingdom of fear, a secret empire of love was built, where the brother was the sister's only protector. The discovery and the forest. 4 years passed in the blink of an eye. Tajar returned home from abroad after finishing his business. Seeing his father after so long, the son pretended to be happy, but his heart was pounding. However, truth cannot be hidden for long. One afternoon, the girl accidentally stepped out of the secret chamber into the courtyard. Seeing that familiar black mark on her hand and the features of her face, Tajar stood frozen. In an instant, he remembered the astrologer's warning.
His whole body shook with rage. He summoned his son and shook the house with his roar. "You have disobeyed my order. You have kept the enemy in your own house." Tajar's eyes seemed to spit fire. He didn't want to hear any explanation from his son. His blind faith had turned him so much into a beast that he felt no mercy even seeing his beautiful 4-year-old daughter. He gave his son an ultimate deadline. "I want to see the end of her life before sunset today. If you don't do this, I will disown both of you." Seeing his father's furious form, the son realized that no excuse or lie would work anymore. The situation had turned into a crisis of life and death. Distraught by his father's aggression and threats, the older brother saw only darkness. He feared that if he disobeyed, the sister might be brutally murdered by the father right before his eyes. Forced by this fear, he took a hard decision. With tearful eyes, he picked up his 4-year-old sister. The sister thought her brother was taking her for a walk, so she laughed out loud. That laugh pierced the brother's heart like an arrow. He began walking toward the deep forest with her. The deeper he went, the heavier his feet became. Reaching a deserted spot, he began digging the soil with a spade. The sister sat innocently nearby, playing with the dirt. She didn't know the hole was being dug for her. The brother struck the soil and shed tears. His hands wouldn't move. His body felt paralyzed. How could he perform such a cruel act as burying someone alive? But his father's angry face and the fear of the curse haunted him. He tried to convince himself there was no other way. In unbearable mental agony, he faced the hardest moment of his life. The digging was almost finished. With trembling hands, the brother went to lower his sister into the hole. Right then, the sister wrapped her small arms around her brother's neck and said in a broken voice, "Brother, don't leave me under the ground. I'll be scared. I won't stay without you." This cry and plea from the sister shattered the hardened brother's heart in an instant. He threw the spade away, cried out loud, and hugged his sister tightly. He felt, "To hell with my father's order. To hell with that astrologer's prophecy." He could not kill a piece of his own soul. Seeing her brother cry, the sister started crying too. Then the brother took a firm vow. He would not return to that stone-hearted father. This forest would be their new world. He picked her up and started running in the opposite direction, deep into the heart of the forest. Behind them lay the memories of their past, their father's luxury, and his cruelty. The sister closed her eyes peacefully on her brother's shoulder, because she knew as long as her brother was in this world, she had nothing to fear. Life in the wild. A strange and difficult struggle for survival began for the two siblings. Far from the civilized world, in the deep forest, they built a small hut with branches and leaves. Leaving the comfort of a palace-like house, the brother picked up hunting weapons. He worked night and day to keep her safe, collecting fruits, bringing water from the spring, and protecting her from wild animals. He managed it all alone. The sister would sit inside the hut waiting for him. At night, when the sounds of wild animals were heard, she would hold her brother in fear, and he would give her courage. Their clothes were dusty, their bodies tired, but their minds had a strange peace, because here there was no threat of murder, no fear of superstition. The brother would decorate her with forest flowers and mimic bird calls for her. The sister also tried to help him with small tasks. In the lap of nature, they learned to live anew. There was much hardship, but their companionship made it trivial. In this uninhabited forest, they were each other's world, the prince and the rescue.
The wheel of time kept turning. Growing up in that tough forest environment, the little sister had now turned into an extraordinarily beautiful young woman. The freshness and simplicity of nature added a different dimension to her beauty. The brother loved her more than his own life. His thoughts all day revolved only around her. He would bring her the tastiest fruits and weave garlands of beautiful flowers for her. The sister couldn't stay a moment without him. She cooked for him and waited for his return. Their love was not just a blood relation, it had become a spiritual bond. The brother was always alert so that not even a scratch would touch her. The black mark from her childhood was still on her hand, reminding the brother of their horrific past. But now that fear was gone. There was only the fear of losing each other. He vowed that as long as there was breath in his body, he would protect her. This deep forest was a piece of heaven where love and trust were the only languages. One day, a strange thing happened. The sister had gone to the spring to fetch water as usual. She was looking at her reflection in the clear water and humming a song. At that moment, a foreign prince was passing by. He had come for hunting but had gotten separated from his group and lost his way. Suddenly, a sweet voice reached his ears over the sound of the spring. Curious, he moved forward and stood frozen, seeing the young woman by the spring. It was beyond his imagination that such a beautiful woman could live in the forest. The prince stared, mesmerized. At first sight, he felt he had found the person he had been looking for all his life. The prince gathered courage, approached her, and spoke. He was even more charmed by her simplicity and behavior. Without delay, he proposed marriage right there. The sister was shy at first, but seeing the prince's honesty and the language of his eyes, she felt an unseen pull. However, she remembered her brother, who understood nothing without her. The prince's proposal was like a dream, but she was in a dilemma. The prince promised her that he would take her to the palace with honor and also find her brother. Driven by emotion and the call of a new life, the sister decided to go with the prince.
She thought her brother was out hunting, and when he didn't find her, he would search and they would meet at the palace. Perhaps she didn't get a chance to leave a note or made a mistake in the hurry. The prince took her on his horse and they left the forest for the highway. The prophecy overturned. Meanwhile, after evening fell, the brother returned to the hut after hunting. In his hand were his sister's favorite fruits, but entering the house, he saw she wasn't there. At first, he thought she might be nearby, but there was no response after much calling. He didn't find anyone at the spring either. His heart shook with an unknown fear. The sister he had protected bit by bit was gone. The brother began wandering the forest like a madman. His cries and shouts made the forest air heavy. He felt he had lost the only reason for his survival. Many days passed. The brother became like a stone in grief, yet he stayed in the forest out of love for her memory. One day, while he was gathering wood deep in the forest, a huge tiger suddenly jumped on him from behind the bushes. The brother was unprepared and had no weapon. Knowing death was certain, he closed his eyes. At that very moment, a sharp and familiar voice rang out, "Stop!" An arrow came and struck the tiger. The beast roared and fell. The brother opened his eyes to see a woman in royal attire, on horseback. It was none other than his lost sister. She had received news that her brother was still in this forest, so she had come with her husband to find him.
The sister jumped off the horse and ran to hug her brother. Tears flowed uncontrollably from the brother's eyes. He realized that if his sister hadn't been alive today, his death in the stomach of the tiger would have been certain. The astrologer's words that the daughter would be the cause of the son's death were proven completely false today. Instead, it was this daughter who became a shield and saved her brother's life. It was proven that a daughter is not a curse. She is a mercy, rahmat from Allah, a symbol of love and courage, who brought her brother back from the jaws of death. Conclusion. So, friends, that was our video for today. Let us know in the comments how you liked this video. Friends, these are not incidents from the Quran or Hadith. These are built based on real-life events in our society, and it is described using the Quran and Hadith how these can be solved. Let us know from which country you are watching the video. Friends, if you want to see such Islamic stories and educational videos, subscribe to our Basaran YouTube channel right now. So, see you in the next video. Until then, may Almighty Allah give us all the strength to stay on the right path. Ameen summa ameen.